He is 1/3 of the Ring of Honor 6-man World Tag Team Champions for the Embassy, hailing from Pro Wrestling Rich, Minnesota. This is Kaun.
How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you, Kaun, for taking time. And look, first of all, we got a lot of stuff to get in. Ladder, sports nutrition, of course, that's our big thing. These 6-man tag team titles for Ring of Honor, which is under the auspices of another Kaun with AEW. So that's where I'm going, though.
Okay.
Does it help to have a name like Kaun working for Ring of Honor these days?
I think so. I think that's what attracted them to me. Like, he saw a different Kaun trending on Twitter that was spelled a little differently. He's like, "Who's this guy?" And then he saw me, and he's like, "Man, he looks like a star. So we need to have him part of the company."
See, this is genius. This is genius branding. I don't know if this was just by happenstance or you had this planned all along. Was this the plan, Kaun?
Honestly, this happenstance, man. I chose my name like 5.5 years ago, and just the irony that Tony Khan creates AEW, and I'm like, Jesus, now there's another one. But hey, he's my boss. He's a super cool dude, so I'm glad to have him.
Well, he did it right. Yes, he did. So tell us about the Embassy, because if I'm not mistaken, this is now the second time that you've held the Ring of Honor World 6-man Tag Team Champions, and the first time was with another group?
Yes, it is. Second time.
Nice. Nice. Hold it up higher. Wait, hold that up higher. I want to see that proudly.
Oh, making history again. Man, the Embassy's been great. Myself, Toa, Brian Cage, Prince Nana, who has so much rich history in Ring of Honor. This is kind of like the second iteration with Prince Nana and doing the Embassy, and man, he bought us some TBE. Look at that, within a few short months, making history at Ring of Honor. Now, 2-time Ring of Honor World 6-man champion. It's been phenomenal. We're going to carry these championships with prestige and make history.
Tell me about, too, the Soldiers of Savagery, because that was the first incarnation that you were with that won these 6-man tag titles. And now, as you mentioned, you're with Tua and Cage with Prince Nana this time around. What are some of the similarities and or differences with the two groups?
So the Soldiers of Savagery was actually myself and Moses. We were a tag team. It was Shane Taylor Promotions. We won the 6-man championships with the first iteration of Ring of Honor. Similarities, both powerhouse teams, people that are go-getters, super motivated and determined. Differences, not too many differences, honestly. Others strong personalities, but if anything, I say I am the common denominator here. Both teams had me, and we are both times champion. So it's something about my presence, me being the star that I am, was why we're 6-man champions again.
It's that Minnesota, Maryland, that double M connection. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it right here. You have to have Kaun on the team. Have him on there. Hey, you mentioned Prince Nana. What is it like being with him and just having his mic skills, his knowledge, everything about Prince Nana?
It's been amazing. It's funny about this, too, is I actually messaged him like 2 years ago before I met him, and we were kind of a fan of each other's work. I was like, "Hey, man, I don't want to see a lot of Africans in wrestling. I love what you're doing." He said the same to me, and then I meet him at a Super Card of Honor. I'm like, "Hey, look at you. Look at us. We're on the same team now." But he's awesome, man. He has so much knowledge, so much like road stories and the business that he's been teaching us here, and the promo skills. This guy can just literally, the gift of gab. He's been teaching me everything, so I'm just trying to soak up as much as I can.
Now, are you and Brian Cage and also Toa, are you guys like working out together, lifting weights and then? Because I'm wondering, is there a little friendly competition when you're lifting?
Probably a little bit. At first, I'm pretty introverted, so I didn't want to go work out with people. But then it's like, hey, great team bonding. Brian finds the best gyms wherever we go. So like, he'll wake us up 9, 10 in the morning. Hey, let's go hit the gym before the show, and we'll go work out. You have those two dudes doing like powerlifting. I'm in there just trying to make sure my abs are staying tight. I'll do cardio. But we're just pushing each other to look the best. We're the best 3 body guys in AEW Ring of Honor, so we just motivate one another to get out there.
Hey, what do you do for the holidays then, as far as eating and all? How much can you cheat a little bit at least? Any holiday cookies, anything?
All the time. I don't restrict myself at all. I train very hard. I do intermittent fasting, so I work hard enough where after tomorrow, like, my diet's going out the window to next week. I'm ready for cake, Mexican food, anything, crepes. I love breakfast food. Whatever I can get my hands on, I'm eating it.
Now, we won't go exactly where, of course, but I'm curious, Where will you be spending the holidays? Will you be spending it in Minnesota, Maryland, somewhere else? Will you be the cold? Will you be in Florida in the nice 75-degree weather that we're having here?
Oh man, I wish I was in Minnesota. I love the wintertime. I'm a big fan of the snow and negatives weather. But I actually spent some time in Dallas. Finally getting cold here in Texas, like 30s and 40s. So that's close enough to Minnesota weather I can get. But I mean, like 2 weeks ago, it was 85 degrees and I was losing my mind.
Yeah, this is like you're right. I think we're finally going to get down to the 40s and 50s, maybe for a couple of days at least, which that's freezing for us down here.
Right, but it makes it feel like the holidays. You got to have like a white Christmas.
So, and this is what's interesting too, is now that you're part of Ring of Honor, and tell us about the big match you had to win those titles against Dalton Castle and the boys, which they're such an eclectic group. Those three, and Dalton especially, and all. What was like having that big match on the big card and being involved in all that?
It was super exciting. The first time I won the championship was during the pandemic. It was closed tapings in Baltimore, so I won it in front of no crowd, which was still exciting because first time I got to hold some championship gold, but it wasn't the same. This second time around, man, you could just feel the energy and the people. And I wanted to get my hands on Dalton Castle for a while. This guy called us hippopotamuses. I take that as disrespect. So kicked his ass. But he's, former world champion. It's great to be in the ring with him. And the boys, they don't get as much respect as they deserve. They're amazing, talented team. They've been on for a while. They kind of handed it to us, but once we got going, it was over. It was off to the races. Got the championships. It was over.
Well, now that you are the 6-man World Tag Team Championships, Ring of Honor, and you're representing that group, what else can you tell us about Ring of Honor? Because it is different from AEW.
Mm-hmm. A little bit of a resurgence. Tony Khan bought the company back in February, March. They just released Honor Club, so they're going to have a new TV service going out to the fans. You can subscribe to Honor Club. All the old historic Ring of Honor stuff on there. You got all the best matches for Danielson, Samoa Joe, the Briscoes, of course. You can watch all the past pay-per-views. So I think that's it right now for all the information that we know. But we are working towards a live TV deal, I believe. I'm excited to be a part of it, man. Ring of Honor was a place that people went to go hone their craft, and that's where they became stars before they moved up to the next big step. So I'm just excited to be a part of the company.
And you mentioned that how you can check out Ring of Honor. So that also means we'll be able to see Shane Taylor Enterprises and the Soldiers of Savagery.
Oh, yep. There's some matches on there. the first one, some tag team matches that Moses and I had with the Briscoes. There's a ton of content there.
And speaking of the Briscoes, what a tag team. And it's good to see them now getting a little more exposure, being a part now of Ring of Honor with AEW, so to speak. I know they're separate and all. And just mention them. And wow, do you see that maybe someday, who knows, might there be a third Briscoe somewhere down the line and have the challenge for the titles?
Hey, possibly. I know they have some kids running around. They got Papa Briscoe, and they've been around for like 20 years, so they're going to be wrestling for a while. So there's going to have to be some tag matches, some 6-mans mixed up eventually.
I want to get into, because we did talk about working out a little bit. Tell me about Ladder, because this is very interesting. Sports nutrition, and if I'm not mistaken, founded by LeBron James and also Arnold Schwarzenegger. How did you learn about it, get involved with it, and tell us a little more about it?
Like you said, founded by LeBron and Arnold. They reached out to me after one of my Dark matches with Adam Cole. It was a huge opportunity for me on AEW Dark, like a 10-minute match, but I did well enough and handed it to Adam Cole where I was trending on Twitter. So Ladder reached out to me. They see that I have a very high ceiling. I'm going to be a big star in professional wrestling. Came to a mutual agreement, and hey, now I'm one of their sponsored athletes. And to be in line with LeBron, Arnold, Myles Garrett, Trey Turner, Steph Chung, these amazing athletes, these world champions, and then you see Kaun there as well. I'm greatly humbled for that, man. That's an amazing opportunity to be listed among these greats, and I just hope to be as good as one of them.
Well, right now you are a world champion, so you're right there. You're right there with them all.
Very true.
But it is so cool because I'm curious, were you a sports fan growing up?
I actually played soccer majority of my life. Did a couple of I did high school and college football, ran track, played basketball in high school. I kind of ran the gamut when I was younger. And then after college, just kind of chilled out for a while and then got into professional wrestling. So basically a lifelong athlete.
Are we talking Patrick Henry, Thomas Edison, Southwest? What am I doing here? Am I going the right way? Where am I going here?
I was Minneapolis, Washburn, right there in the city conference. Yep, Southwest, Edison, North, Roosevelt. Hey, Washburn was like the city conference champs for like 15, 20 years in a row. We were undefeated all the time.
Of course they were, because Kaun was on the team. Come on now.
It's true. I was the starting corner. People did not throw the ball my way because I was the biggest corner out there.
Oh my God, man. The other teams come in and they're like, this guy should be playing football, American football. What the heck is he doing out here? Did you have any interest of trying to play soccer in college, or once high school was over, that was it for you?
Oh man, once I got to high school, my dad was my coach growing up. And when you have a parent as your coach, sometimes the kids get burnt out. I'm like, I don't want to play anymore. So once I got to high school, I was like, I'm done playing soccer. I'm gonna just play football, do track, and that was it.
Then do you follow Cameroon? They had a great run of the World Cup. I don't know if you were even watching the World Cup soccer tournament and all. Argentina wins it and everything. But I know the Cameroonian descent. And then I saw in there the Cameroon had a pretty nice run in the World Cup.
I don't follow sports too much, but I did see that they beat Brazil, because Brazil is one of the greatest soccer teams of all time. And Cameroon was one of the first African countries to ever defeat Brazil. So like, to see that, I know my family back home was super proud of that. That's just amazing. When you see Cameroonians out in public network and just all come together, everyone's super nice. It's a very dope moment.
When then did you get involved in pro wrestling, and did you get your start in Maryland?
I did actually start in Maryland back in 2017, just turning 27. I was done with grad school. I was working like the 9-to-5 job, and like going to the office every day. I'm like, oh, this is not it for me. So I watched like some old WWE documentaries that made me feel like I did when I was a kid. I got goosebumps. I'm like, I need to go for this dream. If I don't go for this, I'm going to regret my life. And I signed up. Within a year and a half, I had my Ring of Honor tryout, and I was just like, oh, I'm meant to be here.
Yeah, that's amazing, because obviously in this roller coaster journey that you all are on in pro wrestling, sometimes it takes a while before you even get that opportunity and all. Was there anyone instrumental? I believe Joey Mercury was one of your trainers in Maryland, if I'm correct on that. And I'm curious who might have helped you, if there was someone to help you to get that opportunity for Ring of Honor.
So my first trainers were RJ Meyer and Dean Gutridge at Maryland Championship Wrestling. And then Joey did come in about a year later. And honestly, him and RJ and Dean were the three like fundamental coaches that I had in my life to get there to ROH. Because when I got to Ring of Honor, Joey Mercury was teaching at the dojo at the time, and he had all this history with WWE, being a producer there. He helped create the Shield, some of the greatest, biggest stars in professional wrestling today. And to have those three men just help my career along the way and teach me everything. And I got into wrestling a little bit older. I was able to soak up a lot of information very quickly. Very, very helpful for me and I kind of am in the right place at the right time. That's always that caveat as well.
Always a factor, being right place, right time. And I'm curious, because you did then start a little later after high school, but you mentioned grad school and all. What did you major in?
I got my bachelor's in fine art, and then I actually got my master's in graphic design. So a lot of time in school, I was doing full-time design work, making publications. I basically like creative directed print materials for food and wine events. I made bus ads, made magazines that were in bookstores.
That's an interesting talent. Do you use any of that for your own branding with social media, or do any graphic arts even on yourself or any of the pro wrestling that you're part of?
I try to step away from that stuff, but I do have that knowledge. So when it comes to branding, like I had a friend of mine who's a designer make my logo for me, and I realized like how brands transcend across social media platforms. So I kind of know how to pivot and like make things for myself and like have the consistency throughout the branding of the t-shirts that I make, the social media stuff that I post. So I have that knowledge, but I don't want to make my stuff. I don't want to be too tied to it. But being like a creative, that's kind of how you build your character in professional wrestling as well.
And that's so important. And especially nowadays with social media, so much is out there of branding yourself. You mentioned earlier of being more of an introvert. How has this been? Because you can't be an introvert as a pro wrestler, at least not when you're in the ring.
Very true. I don't know why I decided to make this decision. I kind of would do stuff like when I was a kid growing up too. I'd just sign up for talent shows and I'd freak out. I'm like, why am I doing this? Well, there's some type of fulfillment or like other characteristics in my personality that enjoys this attention. Because when you're out there performing in front of thousands of people and like the adulation you get, there is no feeling that matches that. Like winning these championships, it's so hard to come down from like the adrenaline that you feel. I was like driving back from Dallas to San Antonio. just listening to music. Like, this is the best moment of my life. Nothing can top that. I can see why people are addicted to professional wrestling, because you go out there and you just kind of lose yourself.
Now, you mentioned a couple things. So musically,
Mm.
what are you listening to these days? And I probably don't know any of it. As old as I am, I probably know none of it, but that's all right. What are you listening to these days?
Oh man, I have like a wide genre of music. A lot of course, hip hop stuff. I've been going back to the days of like the high school stuff I was listening to. So like Outkast, 50 Cent, Kanye West back in the beginning, Drake. Because that stuff to me is timeless. Music now is just so fast and just scroll through. You just listen to singles and it's gone the next day. But the stuff we were listening to back then, like the early 2000s, timeless.
And you mentioned all those, and I know all of them. I feel good about myself now. Kaun is making me feel good. He does it all. This is great. And also, you mentioned talent shows. So what talent was Kaun? Or were we singing? Were we playing an instrument? Were we doing something else? I don't know.
I was a weird kid. I did karate growing up. And for some reason, I decided to perform like the forms that you would learn from my talent shows. And I was like, hey, no one's doing this kind of weird stuff. So I would just go out there, do with my bow staff, just doing these forms. And then the whole crowd was silent. But at least like when the parents would come late in the evening, people would like clap for me and stuff. But I'll never forget that feeling. I'm like, this is just so strange.
Martial arts. So, gosh, this is so much great. When I speak with someone too, learning so much about you. So I'm wondering, did you ever have any interest in MMA?
Not at all. I care more about the entertainment aspect of professional wrestling. I'd rather not get punched in the face.
Well, so listen, we want to wrap this up. A couple more questions, but I want to talk more about ladder because we're here and all. And I'm curious too, even after college, how important was it for you to stay in shape and nutrition and just having that be a part of your life?
Extremely important. For some reason, I actually like broke one of my L5 vertebrae in high school playing football, and I had to take like a year off to recover from that injury. Spondylolisthesis wasn't that well known back then. It was like slippage of the spine. People were telling me I had to get my spine fused. Didn't go that route, just kind of rehabbed. I took a year off, and then I just realized how like upset and depressed I kind of was. I kind of lost the sense of myself because fitness was always just such a big part of who I was as a person. So once I got back into working out, I was able to play 3 years of college football, and now it's all about functionality to me. I want to be able to be in my 50s and 60s and be able to go take my dog for a hike and not be in pain. Move stuff out of the house, do all kinds of things, play with kids if I have them, just without pain, no restriction. So being functional, stretching, strengthening, like that, all that's so important to who I am. And like your mood, you feel better, you sleep better. It just makes you a happier person.
Is this how ladder has helped you?
Oh, definitely. I've noticed immediately with the protein after I work out, especially with wrestling training, you can be very sore after. And you take the protein, you take some hydration, and the next day feel fantastic. And I actually was talking to somebody about it the other day. The pre-workout, it doesn't give you that tingly feeling, but I realized how locked in I am to my workouts. And maybe it also is my mindset too. Like I won't look at my phone. I'm literally in there thinking about the lift that I'm doing, engaging all the muscle groups that I'm trying to work on, and I'm just super honed in, but I don't feel like my face is on fire. So yeah, it's been tremendously helpful.
Have you met LeBron or Arnold yet? And are they getting tips from you? This is what I want to know.
Not yet, but I really hope so, man. LeBron, world champion. This dude has surpassed superstardom. One of the greatest of all time. You can argue with whoever. I hope to meet him one day. Same with Arnold in the sport of bodybuilding. I need to learn his tips and tricks of how to look that way when I'm older.
And you mentioned about playing college football. Where did you play college football then?
I played at a small D3 school in Iowa called Lutheran. It's about 2.5 hours from Minneapolis.
This is amazing because I say this with baseball too. No, really, but you don't have to play D1 in football or baseball to keep playing, whether it's the NFL, CFL, even Europe now. Did you have aspirations of trying pro football, or you knew it was done after your college football?
Again, I'm a weird kid. I liked playing football just to hang out with the team and like travel and work out, but I had no desire to play after that. It was just something fun. The fact that you get to play like sports like that into your early 20s, and then after that, it's basically done. Like I was just trying to take advantage as much as I could. But like you said too, there was a player on my team, I believe Kyle McGivney, who set this like the single season tackle record, who was about to get drafted to the Packers, but he didn't want to play football either. But he was that good at a D3 school, like untouched.
And I'm wondering in the workout room during football season, were all the guys then on you, or you were just one of the? Because you're a fiend on the workout.
This is true. I haven't developed into this personality that I have now. Back then, so I was more of the reserved, hey, leave me alone with my headphones on. But now I know when I walk into the gym, people are going to look at me. I don't care. I know that I'm a star. So, hey, if you want to ask for workout tips and stuff, feel free. I won't be an asshole to you.
But if you were, no one would mess with you. So you can do either. This is what's good about Kaun. You can do whatever.
Very true.
And I'm curious too. So family, friends, have they come to see you wrestle? Do you even on social media once in a while get somebody that you haven't talked to or seen in a long time, and they're like, hey, you're a pro wrestler now. This is cool.
Yeah, I actually just did a feature for my alma mater, Lutheran, for like a 5-10 page feature about, hey, this guy's a professional wrestler now. And even I got to wrestle in Minnesota for the first time last year. None of my family and friends ever saw me wrestle in person. And like I had 30 people come to this show, and they were just like, this is crazy. This is the same guy that who went to Luther with me, who barely talked to anyone, who was the artist in like the painting studio. You're out here just body slamming people, doing top rope superplexes. Like, oh man. But like, that's just kind of how life is. Like, people grow, they evolve, and they get into things that you never knew. And I think for people to see that growth in me, how introverted I was back in the day, I don't know, it just speaks volumes to people. Like, you see someone, hey, I never knew you were into this kind of stuff. That's awesome. My cousins love this kind of stuff. So they can bring their friends and family to the show, bring more support. And I'm opening eyes to, specifically for me, there's not a Cameroonian or African professional wrestlers or Black wrestlers in general. So I'm just seeing like little kids light up when they see me. I talk to them, sign their stuff, and like, oh, this is so cool. I want to be this one day, because that's how I felt back then.
And who were some of your favorites?
Oh man, back then, the Hardy Boys, Jeff and Matt Hardy were my two favorites. Rey Mysterio, Booker T, The Rock, who I hope to meet him one day, because hey, that's the goal that I'm aiming for. So just a handful.
Well, that is so cool. Listen, I want to thank you for spending time. Talk a little bit about your life in wrestling, outside of wrestling, what you're doing with Ladder Sports Nutrition brand, which is awesome. And I noticed as I'm leaving here, it's the holiday season, but I'm noticing, so I'm wondering, are you watching the USA Network, that Child's Play series that's on there? This is like, because I see him behind there and all. And are you into the horror stuff or just Child's Play?
I'm definitely into the horror stuff. For some reason, my dad used to watch horror movies when I was a kid. So I got the first 3 movies up framed. I have a Chucky doll out in the living room, a whole like horror leg tattoo sleeve. I watched the first season so far, Child's Play. I'm so glad they brought it back and kind of towards origin. Like, he was a killer. It was a horror movie. It wasn't supposed to be funny. So I'm excited to see that series. Hopefully I can do some acting, man. I want to get killed in one of these scenes. Like, that'd be awesome.
As you spread and get the word out and keep doing what you're doing, the opportunities for pro wrestlers, it's so much different nowadays than it was even 10 years ago, 15 years ago, going back. It was once in a while, but now we're seeing more and more and all. And I know we're ending this, and I appreciate your time, but gosh, Ring of Honor, you're a 6-man World Tag Team Champion for the second time, this time with the Embassy. Mm-hmm. Child's Play and the horror. And I'm curious, did you ever tag with or compete against Vincent?
I did compete against Vincent. He actually beat us last year's final battle for these 6-man belts, and very nice guy, but you know that screw him. They had
well, you know why I mentioned that? Because he has that horror connection with him is real. He loves it. He loves all the horror movies and things like that.
Whenever I see him, it's like, hey, did you get any new tattoos? I'm like, yeah, I just got Jeepers Creepers on the back of my leg. Like,
well, Kaun, awesome success. Defend those Ring of Honor 6-man World Tag Team titles. Show us the title. Yes, there it is. Yes, there's the champ. Ooh. And it's also Ladder Sports Nutrition brand, something very serious to him, very proud of, and people that he's associated with, the sports and celebrities. It's just amazing. So, Kaun, keep doing well, and thank you so much.
Oh, man, I appreciate it. This has been a fun interview.